Okay, so here we are in Sonosant Audionotetaker, and as mentioned in the previous videos, there are all kinds of different ways that you can get audio into Audionotetaker, but in these videos we're going to specifically be focusing on the best way to work with the Sonosant Recorder app so that you can access your recordings on site at Imperial College London, because Sonosant Audionotetaker is only available via university computers. You can't access this on your own computer, so what I suggest is that you actually use your OneDrive to store your lecture recordings. So at the end of the previous video we showed how you can store recordings that you've made on the Sonosant Recorder phone app in your OneDrive. I'm going to jump into my OneDrive now. So I'm accessing this through the web browser, which is probably what you'll need to do if you want to get hold of this file on site at university. And within my documents folder, I've got this lecture recordings folder. So I've placed the recording directly from my phone into this folder using the OneDrive app on my phone. Now I'm going to go ahead and right click on this and download this to the computer I'm working on. Just imagine this is a university PC, and that should now be saved in my downloads folder. Right. Back into Audionotetaker, I'm going to go to Open Project. I'm going to open a project. And rather than use these demonstration recordings here, I'm going to go straight into my Downloads folder and I'm going to open this recording that I made on my phone. Now it's important to note that after test lecture here it says .mran. Now that means it is a mobile Audionotetaker file, and these files are read-only. So that means that you can edit this, you can change things around, but once you make your final change and you save this document, you're actually going to be asked to save a new version of this recording. So you might have a number of different files relating to this lecture, but that's fine because you can treat this as the original recording to which you haven't made any changes. And what I'm going to demonstrate over these videos is that you might want to have multiple versions of a lecture, including one that you can always go back to just in case you've made some edits and saved it and actually you've made a mistake and you didn't want to cut out some audio that you actually have. So what I mean by this is if I go ahead and click on the save button now, see it's asking me to create a new version, and that is a .ran file. So this version you're going to be able to keep on coming back to and modifying, but you can keep the mran one as a backup of the original recording that you made. And I'm just going to save that alongside the mobile file in my downloads folder. So this is just a rough recording that I made, and I didn't take photos while I was using the Sonosant Recorder app. So I'm going to go ahead and upload my slides into Sonosant Audionotetaker. So you'll need to get either a PowerPoint file or a PDF file that hopefully your lecturer has provided to you and put up in your virtual learning environment. Download that to the computer as well, and then go to Import and Import Slides. So the idea here is that because I made a section break between each slide, I can just go ahead and grab the presentation that the lecturer has provided, which I've also got in my downloads folder. And when I open that, what we should find is because I've made a section break between each slide, it's actually put the slides in the correct place, corresponding to where I actually pressed the section break button. We've also got the color codes that I made using the Sonosant Recorder app, and any notes that we typed directly into the phone appear there as well. So we've immediately saved a huge amount of time when coming back to these recordings. It's nice and easy to jump back to parts that we've marked up during the lecture rather than having to fast forward to find parts that you think were interesting when you heard the lecture the first time round. Additionally, I also mentioned this tool in the previous video, which is Audio Links. And if I click on this little chain, if you're recording using the Sonosant Recorder app, every time that you type a text note into the phone interface, it makes a link between what you typed and the audio. So what we should see is that when I type the word hello, I'm actually talking about the fact that I'm typing the word hello there. So let's just see if that's worked. I'm no longer saying something important, so I'm going to turn that off. Now I'm going to demonstrate how text can be linked to things that you type. So if I tap into my text window here and I say hello, I do. And there we go. So that is another tool that you can use to navigate back to important content. You might find that the color codes are a little bit too much to be worrying about, but as long as you're even making the briefest of notes directly into the phone interface, you know that you can find the relevant sections later on, and you could even go back and modify this text if what you typed in originally was just too brief or perhaps didn't make quite as much sense as it could when you come back to it later on. So it's important to pause and reflect on why this is such a useful strategy, I think. If you are simply making a recording on your phone and then coming back to it later on, not using the Sonocent Recorder app, then really you've got another hour or 2 hours of stuff that you need to navigate through to find the relevant information. Whereas this way of working, which gives you the opportunity to actually type or write less during the lecture, just to be present and concentrate on what's going on, but just making sure that you're marking up the important points so that you can navigate back to them later on, well, that's a much more efficient way of working, because you might actually want to jump straight to slide 3 and start listening to a section that you marked as important. Okay, so here's the slightly fiddly bit. This information that we've got in the top right hand corner of the screen is the information that we put into the phone app earlier on, and it's useful to have there as a reference. But this relates to a filing system built into Audionotetaker, which you can't really make use of if the Audionotetaker software is only installed on university PCs. This works best if you've got the software installed on your own computer. So if we are going to be using a cloud drive such as OneDrive to manage the different lecture recordings so that you can keep on working on your different lecture recordings on different university computers, you might want to do something slightly different. This is the .ran file, the version that we saved from the original mobile file. Remember, the original .mran version is read-only. Once you have made your initial edits, it forces you to save a brand new RAN file, which is the full computer version of your audio note. Now you can keep that .mran file as a backup just in case you make some edits and that's a mistake and you want to go back to the original recording. But equally, you might be happy just to keep this file and to replace the original mobile one. So if I save this now, and we have a look back in the folder where we've been downloading all these files to. So we've got the original mobile file here, and you can always see that under type in the File Explorer window, and we've got the new Audionotetaker project here. It might have been good to actually save that under a new name just to make it easier to differentiate between them when you were saving from the original mobile project. In this instance, I'm going to get rid of that mobile project because we don't need it anymore. I'm going to jump back into my OneDrive account, and I'm also going to delete this mobile version as well. Okay, now I'm simply going to drag the new version back into my OneDrive, and when that uploads, that means that you can go through the same process of downloading it and re-uploading the modified version if you're jumping between different computers at university. And there it is, it's just arrived in my OneDrive now. So remember, this version now contains all of the slides. It contains all of your notes and it contains all of your color codes as well. And you can keep on working on this file and modifying it to make your experience of referring back to lecture recordings a bit more accessible. We're going to be looking at some different strategies and techniques that you can work with over the next few videos.